Hey, Ivy, you're in the car, like you said. How cool.
I am. Oops, I'm
That's
not driving, which is
dedication.
good.
No, yeah. So hang on, I'm just letting everyone in, but thanks for joining us. Nice to see you.
I don't
You
have
as
video.
well. You as well.
So hold on one sec. I'm just gonna mute everyone else so that I've got Ivy loud and clear. Okay, let me see. Okay, mute all except Ivy. It always takes a second or two. Okay. Are you on? Oh, you're
I'm
good?
on. Yep, I'm in.
Okay, perfect. All right. So hello.
Hello.
So where in the world are you? You've just embarked on a long road trip. Is that what's going on?
Yes. So I am currently in the parking lot of a Wegmans supermarket in
Nice.
North Syracuse, New York. I'm on my way to the Thousand Islands, home of the dressing,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
where my best friend from growing up lives. And I'm taking vacation for a week, which is really great. But I, for some reason, thought this was at 8 o'clock tonight. I brought all this stuff. I was like, two? I have
Uh,
no idea.
don't
Life has
don't
been crazy, so I apologize.
no, don't worry. So everyone that is ready for Ivy to shake things up, mix things up, like she just said, we got the times a little confused. So she doesn't have all of her bartending, essentials. I'm sure they're somewhere in the car, right? I mean, I
They
assume,
sure are.
yeah. But it's not as easy to do. So that's okay. You can still walk us through it and then we can make them on our own,
Yeah,
post
yeah,
meet.
yeah, yeah.
So okay, so you're from Vermont. I saw that.
Yes.
And now you own Leonda, Brooklyn, a successful restaurant and bar.
Yep,
You're an author. I mean,
I
there's a
am.
lot going on, and you've
That
got
I that I dug up. There we go.
got it. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, and this isn't even your first book.
It is my first book.
Oh, it is your first book.
I've written things before, but I've never written a book before. So this was
Okay.
my first foray into that, and it is really hard to do. Writing books is very hard. Come to
Wow.
find out.
And how long did you work on it before it, came to be? I mean, it was just released, what, a month or so ago?
May 26th. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, I worked on it. I mean, it's kind of a long thing, but
Yeah.
I opened up Leyenda, my bar in Brooklyn, 5 years ago. We
Wow.
just actually had our 5 year anniversary a week before the book came out.
Oh,
So all
congratulations.
Yeah, it was a little anticlimactic, all locked down for COVID and everything, but it was good. But when we first opened up Leyenda, I really wanted to open up a bar that celebrated all of Latin America, and we can kind
Mhm.
of go into a little bit. And I talk about in the book like my definition of what Latin America is. Some people don't like to include the Caribbean in Latin America, but there is a school of thought that does. That's my school of thought. um, so um, so yeah, so uh, when I opened up Leyenda, I really wanted to open up a bar that was kind of using tequila and its popularity as like a gateway into everything else that's out there. And I just really didn't want to open up an establishment that was like, you know, sombrero, Cinco de Mayo, mariachis. Like, I want to do something that was
Taco
like not
Tuesday. Yeah.
precisely. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do like a cultural appropriation zone. I want to have a place that actually celebrates these cultures and places. And then using tequila as like a gateway, because every rapper and their brother has a brand now, and like George
Yeah.
Clooney made billions.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I was
do
like,
like
all right,
Casamigos too. Yeah.
yeah, you know what? It's really not. It's good. I think it's too expensive. You're kind of paying for George Clooney, but
Yeah.
I'd pay for George Clooney. Like, all right, George, you get it this time. uh, so yeah, so Leyenda celebrates, everything from tequila and mezcal to things like cachaça or rum or pisco, and we're gonna talk about rum today. Um, and when I came to write the book, I was approached by a publisher in San Francisco, 10 Speed Press, and they were like, "We think you should write a book." And I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "What do you want to write about?" And I was like, "I don't know." And the other part of my life is I run a female bartending competition called Speed Rack.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw that.
yeah, and it's awesome. We started 10 years ago, literally to create a platform for women to stand on in a male-dominated industry that are constantly not getting jobs, because 10 years ago when someone Googled mixologist, what showed up, or still does show up, is a white dude with a mustache and like a beard, and like women didn't fit into that image. So I knew that 10 Speed wanted me to write a book on what it's like to be a woman mixologist. And I was like, I know so much more about this industry than just that, and I want to write about these things too. So that's what I did, and I decided. So I probably took about 2.5, 3 years
Mm-hmm.
to write the whole thing. Start from getting in touch with the publisher, writing the proposal, agreeing on my measly advance, which wasn't very big, and
I hope your
and
sales
then
make up for it. Yeah.
me too. I mean, hopefully doing stuff like this, will help. It's a really weird time trying to sell a book when you can't do a book tour. So I'm so grateful to be here and like talk to everyone here, and yeah, be able to talk about it a little bit more. So it's great.
Oh, that is so exciting. And so the 10, what is it? Now I'm getting 10 speed and speed rack. Speed rack, that's a competition that you mentioned you hold for women bartenders. Is it
Hmm.
annual?
No, it's literally a full-time job. We tour, so we do a U.S. city tour, and then we also do a global competition
Oh,
globally. So and we're also a breast cancer charity, right? So we
oh.
sell tickets to our events, and when you come into the event, there's 25 women that we accept from online applications, and we do like a seeding process that we call the preliminary round, where we whittle 25 down to 8, and then the
Mhm.
8 women get up on stage. It's almost like roller derby meets Top Chef bar edition. It's like badass babes rocking out, making drinks, and the goal is to make drinks really quickly, but accurately, because there's a judging component to it too, and it's all live. And we have like 500 to 1,200 people come to these events. There's DJs, it's nuts,
Fun.
and we sell tickets to the events to raise money for breast cancer. So this time last year, exactly, literally, it's like the anniversary. We were in New Orleans, me and my business partner Lynette Marrero, and we reached the $1 million raised mark in 8 years. So yeah,
Congratulations. It's huge.
yeah, it was awesome. But so are Latin spirits. I mean, that's like the two prongs of my life:
Yeah.
feminism and Latin spirits. So
So it works really well together with your book. So
yeah,
another thing I read is that you're kind of responsible, or at least known for one of the many things you're known for, kind of making mezcal such a popular, beverage or drink in the States.
yeah,
How did that come
yes.
to be?
Well, I started bartending when I was 19, in Guatemala. That's kind of how I started my life. It's in the book. You can read it. You can read
Yeah.
about. But I grew up in central Vermont, town of 700 people. I always thought I was going to be a professional horseback rider. That was always what I thought my life was going to be. And I had a pretty sheltered life. Sheltered meaning monotonous and kind of monotonal.
Mhm.
Everyone where I come from is kind of like a different flavor of this, in whatever different way. And it was just the same. Everything's the same. It's a little bit Wonder Bready. And
Well, Vermont,
I went to
grainy bread.
grainy bread, whole wheat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whole wheat bread,
Right.
exactly. And yeah, but when I went to college, and I told my mom, I was like, I will go anywhere. Like, please find me a place to go in the country, and I'll go there. So I went to Guatemala because it was the first place that I found. I wanted to learn a foreign language. And I taught photography in an orphanage, and I took Spanish classes during the kind of split my day Spanish class in an orphanage. And then I fell in love with this bar because I could go hang out in it. This was like pre-Facebook, I had to call my mom from an internet cafe when I arrived there. It was 2000, like the first days of 2005, when I first showed up there. And the bar was a mezcal bar. And we would I ended up working there, long story short, after hanging out there for 2.5 months, and couldn't really call my mom at the end of it. People still had tabs in those days. So I had a tab of like, $1,200 or something like this. And I couldn't really call my mom and be like, Mom, I'm in Guatemala and a beer costs $1 and I I have a huge bill. Help me, So I started working in this mezcal bar, which led to me going to Oaxaca a lot and then bringing mezcal back into Guatemala to sell. So when I moved to New York in 2008, when the economy had just collapsed, thinking I was going to go pursue my art degree, and hated the art world and totally hated it. I got jobs in cocktail bars because I had all this mezcal knowledge, which was like blowing up at that time. People were like, "How do you know about this?" And I was just like, "I lived in a place where this is important." Like, and it really served me well. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's such a funny thing because I helped popularize
Right.
this ancient spirit. I mean, this ancient spirit, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I was part of that wave for sure.
That's very, very cool. I mean, what an adventure you've had and you're still having.
Yeah,
I mean,
hopefully still having.
yeah. So, Spirits of Latin America. So, I know you touched on some of the things that are in the book. There's a lot about your time living in Guatemala,
Yeah.
right? And it's beautiful. I mean, the way that it's put together, I'll show anyone here. I know some of the people in our group already have this book and already had it prior to me even mentioning it. So, you're out
Yay!
there, which is great. I'm just trying to bring some of the photos. Now, this is Mr. Mezcal, right?
Yeah, he's the best. Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah, the
he,
photographer in the book is a woman named Shannon Sturgis. She's just fantastic, and she was a pleasure to travel with, and she can shoot everything from like portraits to landscapes to cocktails. I'm like, you're the best.
that's great. And I'm trying to see here. There was something. Oh, what is it? Lagrimas Rojas?
Lágrimas Rojas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they look as beautiful as, I haven't made any yet, but I'm sure they taste as good as they look too.
Yeah. They're
And
pretty tasty.
it's so nice that you have, a real history and a story that accompanies all the recipes instead of just pretty pictures of drinks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing about the book is that it's really like the title of the book is Spirits of Latin America, a celebration of culture and cocktails,
Mm-hmm.
from Leyenda and beyond. And it's true, like the whole purpose of the book is to celebrate these
Mm-hmm.
cultures that these spirits come from. And the title of the book is supposed to be a play, like Spirits of Latin America is supposed to mean like also like soul of Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really think that these are like the history and the cultural significance of these spirits are unparalleled, and they are really inherently part of the national identities of these places. It's funny, when I first wrote this book, I was like, yeah, or I this book is going to be like armchair voyeurism, and people can read this and like hopefully go buy a bottle of booze, and like maybe they can't go to the mountains of Tarija, Bolivia, but they can drink some Singani and read this book and like have an idea of what that place is like, right?
Right.
And now here we all are, and none of us can travel at all, and I'm like, well, even more so.
Well, it's true, and absolutely, and it fits so well, this book group, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole concept. This started. We're a fairly new group, but growing quickly. This all started, a few months back, and because of the lockdown, because of coronavirus, all these
Yeah.
travel lovers suddenly can't go anywhere. So, this is the book we're reading. I'm not sure. Have you read Chanel Clayton's books?
Because of talking to you, I picked it up. I'm actually going to read it on vacation.
Oh, Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's in my suitcase because I know you said that you were going to read that. That's what you're all reading, and I was like, well, I want to read that too. It sounds right up my
Yeah.
alley.
So I'm still reading it. It's lovely. She has two more prior that both have to do very much with Cuba, Cuban history, Cuban heritage. And so, right now we're traveling between Cuba and Key West, and, these drinks in your book and the whole concept of armchair travel with this, it's just
Yeah.
a real nice package.
And it's really interesting that Cuba, when we were talking about Cuba and the
Mhm.
importance of Cuba in cocktail culture.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure I touch on that quickly. I say in the book, Latin America does not have a massive cocktail culture, right?
Mhm.
When you go someplace, it's like X distillate and soda.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll have a rum and coke, which is a Cuba Libre, right? Okay,
Mhm.
good, delicious. Or I'm going to have in Peru, you have a chilcano, which is like ginger ale and pisco. Or it's all like soda and this and soda and that. Except for Cuba. Havana, Cuba became this mecca of cocktails when Prohibition started because it's just such a short boat ride, even plane
Mhm.
ride, even quicker from Florida. So the cocktail culture there and the history of cocktails and the importance of the whole cocktail industry has such a foundation in Cuba. And I talk about a lot in the book how interesting it was for me to be there. My publisher kept on being like, "Why aren't you taking shots of like cocktails in the field?" I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you want me to take a picture of like a margarita in an agave field? And they're like, yes, just like that. And I was like, no, like people aren't drinking margaritas here. We're having a tequila,
Yeah.
but we're not having a like. No, that's not how these
Frozen
things.
frozen mango margarita. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I'm like, eh. So yeah, going there though, being able to see the history and how it's still so ingrained there because the famous thing about Havana, Cuba is that it's like stepping into the 40s anyway,
Mhm.
right? We got all these amazing cars rolling around and the cocktails scene is still so very important. um, it was really awesome. It was just really inspirational to go. And then the importance of bartenders in Cuba are massive because it's actually a way that people can make money. um, you know, you see all these people who were once doctors bartending because they can
Wow.
make more
Yeah.
in a day than they can in a month because of the socialist system. It's
Wow.
it's pretty wild. It's really really wild. It was eye opening. Uh, it was super eye opening. One of the more interesting experiences I had was going to Cuba for sure.
I have not been yet, but how long were you down there for?
I was there for a little less than a week.
Mhm.
Um, and I was lucky enough to get out of Havana. I definitely I traveled a lot of places for the book. Unfortunately, a lot of the places that I traveled to in the quote unquote new world
Mhm.
are impoverished, and Cuba is if if you want an example of why socialism might not work, Cuba is a pretty good example.
Mhm.
In concept, I think it's really great, but like you have like this tourist street that all the cruise ships come in, they walked up and down this tourist street and then they go out. And if you even go like 2 blocks over this way or that way, it's not good. It's grim
Yeah.
in the heart of
Mhm.
Havana. Um, and yeah, I just thought it was just so like, yeah, okay, it's like a socialist country and that's good. I mean, in theory, right? I personally believe like, okay, this is good, but then the disparity between the people was so massive,
Mhm.
and um, it was heartbreaking. That part, the city in particular, but then going outside of Havana, I got to go to a sugarcane field, all of which is run and owned and operated by the country. I went to a molasses, well, so a sugar production site where they
Yeah.
actually make their sugar. It was wild, and it's all just government owned and run, and like everyone's getting paid the same amount. Doesn't matter what color your skin is. Doesn't matter like how old you are. I'm like, so that I can get behind,
Right, right,
like
right. Wow.
that I like. Yeah, it's
So,
crazy.
yeah, and the sugar cane in the photos oh, are you there?
Sorry.
It's
Yep,
okay.
yep, yep. Sorry.
You've got some sugar cane shots in the photos as
Yeah,
well. But
yeah,
what you describe, the tourist area, I mean, I've seen that in so many of these, gorgeous Caribbean islands or
yeah.
locations. The tourist spots are great, but 100 feet down the road, it's another story. So that's
Yeah.
tough, of course.
It's yeah, it's I just encourage everyone to like try to in our travels to go to the other places to like,
Mhm.
I talk about in the book as well. Jamaica in particular has a soft spot in my heart. I actually the only place I'd ever been in the world before going to Guatemala was to Jamaica because I actually grew up there part time as a kid with my mom and my
Really?
dad and my sister. Yeah, randomly.
And your parents are
Uh,
artists, right?
Yeah, my parents are both artists. My father's a glass blower, and my mom's a textile designer. Actually, this is my dad's glass in the book.
Oh, how
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
What a fun
um,
family.
yeah. It's all right. Um, but yeah, so Jamaica is this beautiful country that's just so impoverished because all the money goes into Negril and Montego Bay,
Hmm.
and it's so much bigger than that. Everyone we're all stuck at home. We're all watching Netflix. I highly recommend watching the Anthony Bourdain about Jamaica. He
Okay.
actually goes to the parish, which is like the county that I grew up in, and it's everything he says is so spot on. It's just watch it
Okay.
because it relates to all the islands. It relates to Haiti, the DR, Cuba. It relates to all of it. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen that episode yet, but now I've got to look for it.
It's
So,
great. It's great.
yeah.
He goes and eats in this beach, which is where I learned how to swim. I was like, oh my god, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah,
How old were
yeah.
you when you were down there as a child?
So I have a twin sister, and we spent a lot of time in the hospital before, like we were really premature. It was not great, not a great birthing experience.
Oh,
Um, so my mom actually, the second we got out of the NICU, we were like 2.5 months old, and we went straight down there for like 7 months, and then we
wow.
basically split our time before school. Like three to 6 months out of the year, we would be down there. And then the older we got, the more school kicked in, and we did less and less. Like
Sure.
2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, but that sounds pretty ideal for, a lot of people, especially being from New England.
yeah. Especially when you grow up in Vermont, it's like, oh,
Right.
get out of the snow. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's great. So, Cuban cocktails in this book. I know you mentioned we were going to make, and we'll still make. We'll
yeah.
take
I'll
your
walk you
advice.
through it.
We'll make it, and then we'll have to send you photos. But the Hemingway, which is so perfect because it really ties in Key West and Cuba. Um,
Absolutely.
and then there was another one. I remember you mentioned another Cuban drink in the book, but we can start.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can go through a few of them actually. So the first I need to talk about the really iconic Cuban cocktails, and then I
Yeah,
can kind of go into how to make the Hemingway.
sure.
There are so many iconic Cuban cocktails that come from Prohibition, from the stars and celebrities like Hemingway that were hanging out down there. Um, the mojito, arguably the most popular drink in the world.
Mojito. Yeah.
I love a mojito. There's no shame in loving mojitos, people.
Nope.
They are freaking delicious. Do not let anyone shame you. I love a mojito. So mojito is a classic Cuban cocktail. The daiquiri, just a normal daiquiri, is a Cuban
I
cocktail.
did not know that.
Um, there's a obscure one called a Hotel Nacional that's named after the hotel down there. That's a classic. There's one called the Floridita. There's a whole different slew of those that's named after the world famous bar of El Floridita that's down there, which is like if you go to Cuba, it's on the main drag. Go
I've seen
get
photos.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so and all the bartenders there are like there's a group there. The grupo I can't remember what they're called. But the bartending group that they have there, they're so proud, and they all work at the Floridita, and it's really awesome. So yeah, so all these like if it's a rum drink and
Mhm.
it's a classic and you've heard of it, the chances of it coming from Cuba are extremely high,
Yeah.
right? Not the Mai Tai, that's like a Hawaiian,
Yeah.
tiki thing. But it's pretty awesome that's the type of impact that was had.
Mhm.
Um, turn off the AC in my car here. So yeah, so the Hemingway daiquiri is called the Hemingway daiquiri because the story goes Ernest Hemingway was diabetic. He couldn't actually have sugar in diet, which is hilarious, everybody, because alcohol is sugar. Like when people are like, oh, I just don't want any sugar in my cocktail. I'm like, yeah, but in order to make alcohol, you need three things to make alcohol. Sugar is number one.
Yeah.
And then water and yeast,
Yeah.
to make anything ferment. So it just cracks me up when people with a sugar fear. Yeah, some things can be too sweet. I totally agree, but you, alcohol equals sugar. That's what that's what it is. So he didn't want to drink a normal daiquiri because he didn't want to have the sugar in his system, right? So he decided that if he made a daiquiri at the Floridita bar, there's a big statue of him there, with maraschino, which I'll explain, then it would be no sugar, and in which case it would be better for him, right? Maraschino liqueur is a cherry liqueur that comes from Italy. There's different versions of it out there. The most popular one is Luxardo maraschino, and I personally think that that's what you should use in this drink in particular, just because it is a little bit sweeter, and it has like whenever I describe this to people, they're like, "Oh, it sounds horrible," but it's not. It has this like candied confectioner cherryness to it that sometimes in the other maraschinos they use the pits a lot, and it's a little bit more grappa like. Have you ever had grappa? The grappa kind of tastes like it's a little bit petrol-y,
bitter,
because of the pits and the stems and whatever. But yeah, so the traditional recipe calls for a white rum, grapefruit juice, which was a new addition to the daiquiri, right? Usually it's just lime, sugar, and rum. Lime, obviously, the lime, which is like, the heart and soul of Latin America are limes, and maraschino. So the traditional recipe calls for a ton of maraschino, right? Because they want to make it sweet. Maraschino is it's like, how can I relate this? It's almost like cayenne pepper. A little goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right? That flavor, it's intense, and it's good, but it's intense. So I've modified my personal Hemingway daiquiri, and a lot of people have, like, for more modern tastes. So it's a little bit juicier and a little less maraschino heavy. So like the original recipe was like 2 ounces of rum, 3/4 of an ounce of maraschino, which, by the way, has alcohol in it. So this is just like a really boozy drink, and you just gotta, that's a lot of alcohol. Hemingway can handle it, but okay.
We've been warned.
Sorry?
We've been warned.
Yeah. You've been warned. 3/4 of an ounce of grapefruit juice and 3/4 of half an ounce of lime. So in my recipe, I want to taste the rum, especially, and I really want to kind of drive this point home. Rum is super different. If you're getting a rum from Cuba, or a rum from, Martinique, which is not too far away, or a rum from Jamaica, or a rum from Barbados, they're all going to taste different because they have different styles of fermentation and different stills that they use. The rum that almost we all think of everywhere, like when we think of rum, like I mean, I can only see your face right now, Juliana, but I'm sure, like, Bacardi, right? Bacardi is the one, right? Bacardi, and
I was going to say Captain Morgan, but
yes, Captain Morgan. Don't make this with Captain Morgan; it will taste not good. So the thing about Cuban style rum is they're very proud for making what they call ron ligero, and ron ligero literally means light rum. And the reason why they were proud of that is because back in the day of the pirates and everything else, all of the rum was super funky. So by funky, what I mean by that is it has lots of esters. What esters are little compounds that make flavor. And some, like, you might think of, like, if you hear people talking about tasting notes, you hear people say, like, oh, it's like rotten fruit, and these are all things that, if you're like into flavor, you're like, ooh, I really like that. But not Cuban style. Cubans are very proud of having a light, minimal rum, right? Still, and they're very, very proud of it. Ron ligero. Bacardi, the clear Bacardis, I think they call it silver, is a fine rum. Honestly, you can do better, but it's just a fine rum. If you can get your hands on a bottle of the real Havana Club, the Havana 3 from Cuba, that will make you the best Hemingway daiquiri, I think. Otherwise, a really good rum, if it's a white rum, is probably going to do you just fine. But I would try to get one that was made either in an English, like a Barbados or a Guianan, like El Dorado's really good. Plantation's really good. Anyway, I could go on and on. Just watch out for the really funky ones.
Okay.
Is my thing. So, yeah, because Captain Morgan's a spiced rum and they put lots of sugar in it.
Yeah.
So it can kind of mess up recipes. And I can't with spiced rum. It's not my thing.
Spiced rum is not my favorite either. My husband enjoys it, but
sorry.
It's okay. We moving?
Sorry. No, we're not moving.
Okay.
We're not moving. I just wanted to put on the AC.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sure. I wish I could see everyone's faces. I'm just like, is everyone like, oh my God, this lady's crazy.
Hang on. Let's bring the gallery view back. Hi guys, gals.
Hi.
Hi. Now, that being said, does anyone have questions about this particular drink for Ivy?
Oh wait, let me give you my recipe really quick. So, and you can kind of send it to your people. So my recipe, kind of modernizing it a little bit, is 2 ounces of rum.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna write this down in my notes section of my phone.
Okay. So 2 ounces of white rum. Bacardi is great if you like I said, if you can get original Havana Club. Like if we can ever travel again anywhere in the world besides the United States, you can pick up a bottle any duty free ever. So pick it up. It's
white rum. Okay.
1/4 ounce of maraschino. So I really put it down because I think it can be too overpowering. So 1/4 ounce of maraschino. 3/4 of an ounce of grapefruit juice. 1/2 ounce of lime.
And you said fresh is best always.
Fresh is best.
Okay.
Just get one of those little hand juicers. Honestly, you won't regret it.
I've been saying we need to get one. We don't have one yet, but that's a good reminder. Thank you.
Well, people will go to the store and buy those little like fake plastic green lemon
I've seen
things. Don't get it, because in order to sell juice legally in the United States, in mass quantity, it has to be pasteurized, and what pasteurized means is it has to get heated up. So, I mean, raise your hand if you think like hot lime juice sounds like a good idea. It's gross, right? It's disgusting. It's gross, and it also oxidizes it, so it kind of tastes like tinfoil if you do that. So the little juicer is cheaper and it's better, especially for lime and lemon juice. Honestly, if you have like a thing of like, pure whatever grapefruit juice, that would be fine. But if you can get, or like Natalie's juice is super awesome. You can kind of get it in your grocery store. So 2 ounces of white rum, 1/4 ounce of maraschino, 3/4 grapefruit juice, 1/2 ounce of lime juice, and then 1/2 ounce of simple syrup. It's called simple syrup because it's really simple to make, everybody. It's equal parts sugar and water. And it will stay in your refrigerator forever. Like it's don't buy it. Don't buy it out in the store because it's usually high fructose corn syrup. If you make it yourself, then you know that at least it's, your sugar, and it's still sugar water, right? But it's not high fructose corn syrup. Then you put all of those ingredients into a shaker. If you have a cocktail shaker, great. Honestly, I never use cocktail shakers at home. I use like an old jam jar that works just as well. And you shake it up really hard together. And if you want to be fancy, you strain it into a coupe, like the beautiful picture you put in your mailer.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to be fancy, you can just open up the lid of the jam jar and drink it that way, which is what I do when I'm at home, because it's easy.
Now, is there ice? You put ice in the jam jar when you're shaking it?
Yes, I should have said that. Yeah, you put ice in there and you shake it up, because you want to get it nice. You want to get it nice and cold. That's kind of the importance there, is like getting it cold, which is one of the amazing things. Also, I know, no kidding. I'm like, I can't wait to get off this drive. So that's the Hemingway daiquiri. It's literally one of my favorites of all time.
I love that. I'd never even heard of one, so I don't know. Maybe I'm sheltered, but I'm quite excited to try it. That sounds great.
It's super good. It's quite floral. It's really refreshing. And if you go to just about any bar, like anyone who knows anything about cocktails will know how to make a Hemingway daiquiri. So that's good.
Okay.
my sister went through a phase where she kept on asking people, that was like her drink of choice to see how people would make them. Because everyone argues over, do you put in more grapefruit juice or less? Do you put in more lime juice or less? Like
Hmm.
there's lots of, I personally think this should be a juicy cocktail. Like there's a reason
Okay.
why there's lime and lemon juice in it. Some people put in like just a half ounce of or a quarter ounce of each. And I'm like, no, more juice. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be tasty and rich, you know?
Yeah. That was fun. Perfect hot weather drink.
Yeah,
So whether
totally.
you're in the Caribbean or South America or just, up here in New England in the summer. So
Seriously, and it's also, I should say, really easy to make a lot of. Like if you're
yeah.
having a party or something, just multiply the numbers that you have. So let's say you want to make like 10 or 12 of them. Just do 2 times 12, right? Okay, 24 ounces. That is conveniently just under a whole bottle, which is 25
Hmm.
ounces.
Hmm.
And you can you can put it all together, and then just rather than shaking it up on ice, just put in per drink 3/4 of an ounce of water as well
Okay.
for dilution.
Okay.
And then you just put it in your fridge and you can pour it out into cups and stuff.
That is a great idea. Making in bulk, more or less. Got it.
Yeah, we call it batching
Batch.
in the
Okay,
biz.
making.
Yeah.
Got it. So, well, hey, at least I knew. I always knew my high school math would come in handy one day. So that's
There you
perfect.
go.
Well, that's great. Now I'm excited. So yeah, I'm gonna make one later. My husband and I were doing a big like spring slash summer cleaning out our house. So I'm gonna wait till I accomplish more of that, and
Well
then
done.
have fun and relax. Yeah, I'm a total wuss. I mean, one drink and I'm sleepy.
Oh,
So,
that's great. If my tolerance is high, for better or for worse.
well, you're
Um,
in the field, so that's perfect.
so I would love to answer any questions if anyone has any. And thank you for anyone who already bought the book. I think that is just, I really appreciate it. It's not a great time in the world to try to sell a book. So for everyone who already has bought it, I'm really appreciative. If you tell your friends about it, I'm even more appreciative. I do
Mhm.
think that it's a important book to read, particularly in light of what's happening right now in our country politically. There is a lot of history in there about the intermixtures of the old world and the new world. You know, I use
Mhm.
those in air quotes, but it is really interesting. I just saw a question pop
Yeah,
up.
I
I don't
saw
know.
one too. Karen. Well, we've got a couple comments, and then
Okay.
Karen had the question. You see it, or do you need me to read it?
Uh, will you read it? Yeah, I don't want to get rid of the screen.
No, it's fine. So Karen says, "I only have spiced rum. Do you have any suggestions for cocktails using that?"
Yes. So I mean, we're not really in rum old fashioned weather at all. Like, we want something refreshing right now, but it makes a great rum old fashioned, right?
I've
So if
never
you
had
just
a
take a,
rum old fashioned.
it's delicious. It's just as good as a normal old fashioned or better. I'm not a big whiskey fan. I would rather drink rum. But if you just take 2 ounces of the spiced rum and a little bit of sugar, again, you can use a simple syrup. You can use maple syrup. You can use, all sorts of different sweetener things like agave nectar,
Agave.
and then you can put 3 dashes of Angostura bitters, which you can get at any grocery store. Put that over ice and stir. It's delicious. If you want something refreshing, it makes a good daiquiri too. So 2 ounces of the rum, 3/4 of an ounce. Well, I don't know what kind of rum it is. I would probably do 2 ounces of the rum, 3/4 of an ounce of lime, and half an ounce of simple syrup. Because, like I said, spiced rums tend to be a little bit sweeter. You don't want it to be too sweet. And then shake that up and drink it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed the way you're just rattling, all these amounts off. It's amazing. Thank you. That's great. Marion said, "Do you have any more generally recommended brands?" Marion, for spiced rum or just rum in general? Sorry, I'm seeing. I don't know if she's gonna write. It's okay, Marion. Anything.
Anything.
Any
Yeah,
more generally recommended brands?
for sure. So I'll kind of just like give like one. I'm gonna run down a whole list. Doesn't even have to be Latin spirits. So
And everyone,
um,
this is recorded, so you can go back on Facebook later and watch it again, and then write
yeah.
everything down.
So for vodka, here's the big thing about vodka. It's basically all the same. Um, and when it's more expensive, it's because it's branded and you're paying for the branding. Like almost every spirit, but vodka is particularly like that.
Wow.
I really like Belvedere vodka. I think it's not that expensive and it's super delicious and really well made. They have a bunch of different like specialty blends, which are also really unusual,
Mhm.
which I like a lot. Gin, gin's a big category. It changes a lot, right? It's all about botanicals. But honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with Tanqueray. Tanqueray is delicious. You can get in any grocery or any liquor store anywhere. It's awesome. Tequila. It's just really important. I'm very passionate about tequila. If you read the book, you'll find that out. It's really important to have it be 100% blue agave. And my favorite brands are a little bit more obscure, but one of the more mainstream ones is called El Tesoro. It's delicious, 100% blue agave, and they treat their workers very well. Um, Whiskey, bourbon, wild turkey. It's awesome. I know it's kind of like, oh my God, my grandfather drinks this or whatever, or it's like a cowboy whiskey. It's so good, and the people who make it are so nice. Um, and you can get anywhere. Again, it's good stuff. Um, and they make rye and bourbon, and it's really good. Um, eh, well, Pisco. I'm gonna say Pisco because it's in the book.
Yeah.
Pisco. I know people are like, oh, like who drinks Pisco? Pisco sours, maybe. If any of you out there are vodka soda drinkers, which like I love a vodka soda. I actually have like White Claw on my back for my vacation. Oh my, wait, Ray and Nephew is the best. Well, I don't know who just said that, but Ray and Nephew is the
Pauline.
best. It's the best stuff. It packs a punch. It is overproof, which means that it has a lot of alcohol per shot. So whereas it has double the alcohol of um, most rum, or almost double. So just be careful when you're drinking it because it's intense.
And
One
we
way to
can
make
buy
it,
it here. We
yep,
can buy
you
it in
can
the
buy it
state.
here.
Okay.
Yep,
Cool.
yep. It's awesome. The cultural significance of it in Jamaica is massive. Like literally they put it like if like the woman who helped raise me and my sister would like, if we fell, Ray and Nephew. Like yeah, if we like when we were teething, Ray and Nephew. Like it's just literally used for everything.
So that's how you got into this.
Yeah, I know. I should thank her.
Not
She's
in
still alive.
infancy.
She's 99 years old. She's
Wow.
amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. Lena, um, still living in the same town. She's amazing.
Mm.
Ray and Nephew's great. Yeah, and for Pisco, I would do Bar Sol, just to continue that thought. Bar Sol is pretty mainstream, and it's very, very good. And if you drink vodka soda, try Pisco soda because it's just so much better. It's floral. It tastes like something. It's beautiful. And yeah, and highly recommend.
How cool. No, these are all
Yeah,
great suggestions. And with a pisco soda, do you just do it like that, like plain, or do you add, lime
I
or
add some lime.
lime?
I
Okay.
like to add some lime juice or just like a squeeze of lime.
Yeah.
It's just it's so much more interesting. And if you're going from a health perspective, which like I totally get it, I did the same thing. It's just you're not drinking a cocktail, so it's not as much. I'm like being antithetical to what I said before, but it is less sugar.
Right, right,
Um,
right. No, I get it.
the name of the pisco is Barcel. Okay, Dory with the Peru and Chile debacle. That's a big debate. Peruvian pisco versus Chilean pisco. That literally should be another. I could talk about that for 45 minutes. It's in the book. Um, I personally tend to like Peruvian pisco more than Chilean pisco, just because Chilean pisco can be really mass produced, and like so many things in life, when quantity goes up, quality goes down.
Sure.
So yeah, when in doubt, I would verge towards Peruvian pisco.
Peruvian pisco. Okay, great. And Tara Lee asked, she said, I love sangria. Any tips for making it taste great?
Yeah, I also love sangria. The thing that people don't really understand about sangria a lot of the time is that it needs sugar, and it also kind of needs more booze in it. So
Hmm.
just wine and fruit juice isn't really going to do the trick. You need a little bit of sugar. So the way to do it, like the traditional way, is you cut up all these fruits. Barcelo Pisco, yep, that was it. You cut up all these fruits and you let it macerate in wine and sugar. And traditionally, people use brandy. Spanish brandy is fine. I like using Jamaican rum, like Appleton or Ray and Nephew, but only use a little bit because it's a little bit funky. and it adds a little bit more nuance. And then I I like to use for my sweetening agent maple syrup. I mean, I'm a Vermonter, so I have a lot of pride. But
Perfect.
it adds more flavor. And then don't be afraid to put different spices into your when it's starting to kind of sit. Don't be afraid to add spices, like add some cinnamon sticks, add some star anise. Put different things in there with the sugar, and you only want to let the thing sit, like not. You don't want to. How do I say this? If you're making a big batch of sangria, like let's say you're having a big party, you
Mhm.
only want to let the stuff sit um, it's like mostly booze. It's less so wine. It's like half of the wine should be in that thing sitting, and then you add all the wine afterwards to kind of freshen it up,
Okay.
rather than let the whole thing sit the whole time, because that way the fruit kind of is really packs a punch.
That's great. Cool. And another question here. Someone asked, when cooking with rum, does the heat intensify the flavor? Because sometimes it seems really strong when I did not add that much alcohol.
Well, the thing about cooking with alcohol is that the heat evaporates the alcohol. So the
Hmm.
whole point of cooking with alcohol is you're supposed to get the flavor. Some booze, sure, but like you're supposed to burn that off in time. So something like bananas Foster or something like that, which is like the
Yeah.
flamed bananas and the
Mhm.
rum or the brandy. Um, but it's going to, you should experiment with what type of rum you're using. Um, if you're the stronger the rum, like if you're cooking with Ray and Nephew, that is going to be pretty intense. It's going to taste pretty intense. But if you're cooking with like Bacardi, I wouldn't even cook with Bacardi. There's no point. No offense to the Bacardi lovers out there, but like you're not going to get anything from it besides I don't even know what you would get. But if it's too strong, then you should increase the heat and really burn it off. You should see flames when you're cooking with alcohol.
Wow. That's new to me. Cool. Oh, Marion, we've got another New Hampshire Mass girl. She said, this is great.
Woohoo!
Appreciate it so much. No, this is wonderful, hon. Someone's trying to get in. Rosemary. Again, guys, everyone, if anyone missed parts of this, we can go back and watch it on live. But this has been so helpful. I've learned so much. I'm just so impressed. Like I said again, how you're able to just, all of this. Like you're a scientist.
Yeah, I was always really bad at science, but I found my niche.
I think you did. That's wonderful.
Well,
And
I'm really appreciative to be on here and to see all these women. I love that. It's so badass. I just think it's so great.
no, and you are, so it's perfect. And so again, everyone, Spirits of Latin America, you can pretty much get it a
You can
bunch
get
of places
anywhere.
online. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you can get it like kind of wherever books are sold. I keep on telling people to go and support your independent bookstore because
mhm.
they've been so like Jeff Bezos needs no more money. He's had a great COVID. He's made billions, whereas independent bookstores have not.
Sure.
So I suggest doing that. It's very easy, especially now, to Google Black-owned bookstores. That's even
Mhm.
better. Do that.
Mhm.
Um, and even though Jeff Bezos sucks and whatever, if you would leave a review on Amazon, it would be very helpful for me because people still do it. If I can get people's ear, I'm like, go support people who need the money.
Right, right. No, I get it. It's tough. But no, that's great. So thank you so much again. I
Thank
wish
you.
you all the success with this and with
Thank you.
everything. And like I said, I want to get down to Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn for a while, but I haven't been to Leanda. So I've got to, when we can, take a
Come
run.
on, yeah. I wouldn't recommend it anytime soon. We do have outdoor seating now, but New York is weird. Everywhere is weird. But
Everywhere.
the thing that makes New York as special as it is that isn't around right now.
Right.
But when it is, I welcome you all. Just be like, I was on that Zoom with
Yeah.
all the ladies talking
Maybe
about
maybe
Cuba. I'll be like, nice.
we'll do a little field trip and we'll come say
Hell
hi.
yeah.
It'll be
I love
fun.
that.
Well,
All right,
thank
well,
you so
I'm
much.
gonna hit the road. Obviously, here's my dog, also a girl.
Oh, cute. Yeah. Well,
Anyway, I really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Ivy. Have a great trip.
Thanks. Be safe out there.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.